everyone, I'm Virginia Dwan, also known as Mandarin Mama. I host a podcast called the Noona Army Podcast, where I discuss the particular challenges and aspects of being a middle-aged BTS fan. Also the founder of BrAzn AZN, which is a retreat for Asian Pacific Islander Desi Americans who are creatives and influencers. I have a special guest today, psychotherapist Rhonda Richards-Smith, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rhonda Richards-Smith. I am a psychotherapist and relationship expert based in Los Angeles, California. And my focus is personal wellness, healthy relationships, dating, and all that fun stuff. And I'm super excited to be here with Virginia.
So the reason, so Rhonda likes like 90s music and hip hop, and even though BTS does cover a lot of that type of music, I'm actually very interested in her thoughts as a psychotherapist. So we've already seen the Map of the Soul. What were they? Oh yeah, Persona, Shadow, and Ego. And so that was very interesting. And so now we're going to be, because she's a relationships expert, I'm going to have her watch Boy in Love, which is one of their earlier songs, and then Fake Love. So Boy in Love is one of their earliest songs, and it's during their school era. So they try to write songs that reflect what they've gone through. So when they were very young, they started off in the school era because they just came from school or they are in school. And I personally, when I first saw the lyrics to the song, I was pretty turned off because I was like, boys are like, I felt like it was very entitled, like you know what. A girl doesn't have to like you.
Right.
But I feel like it's a good, but just because someone feels that doesn't mean that they'll like try and force you to like care about them. So I think I've come around, and I think it'll be interesting to see your perspective on this song and then their later song, which is about fake love. In Love. Here we go. And it's a door.
Okay.
This is 2014, so they've been out for about a year and a half.
I always love music videos that take place in schools. I don't know what it is about that.
This reminds me of Britney.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
That's the name of the album.
되고파 너의 오빠 너의 사랑이 난 너무 고파 되고파 너의 오빠 널 갖고 말 거야 두고 봐 왜 내 맘을 흔드는 건데 왜 내 맘을 흔드는 건데 왜 내 맘을 흔드는 건데 흔드는 건데 아빠 대체 어떻게 나한테 고백한 건지 나도 써야 될 런지 뭔지 네 앞에서 나 먼저 찌질하게 시비를 걸게 돼 뭔데 신경쓰여 다 큰 나애로 만들어 뒤집죠 인형 비련이 늘어 널 간다면 산잘 갈 것 같아 가나다라 마바사 그만 타타 확인할까 그렇다고 착각하지만 신난다 안 달랐어 난 달랐어 네가 뭔데 너만 잘났어 왜 나를 자꾸 놀려 너 이제 그만 hold up 꽉 잡아 날 덮치기 전에 내 맘이 널 놓치기 전에 Say what you want 네가 진짜로 원하는 게 뭐야 잡아 날 덮치기 전에 내 맘이 널 놓치기 전에 Say what you want 네가 진짜로 원하는 게 뭐야 왜 내 맘을 흔드는 거야 보지 않은 너의 행미 자리 없인 가덕시에 손만 타진 내비케이션이나 살까봐 어필하려고 계속 난 진실 내가 이랬다 모습도 너의 아름다움 내가 어떻게 변하면 되겠니 Hold up 밀당 어자 그런 건 낫자 다시 나쁘면 이유만 원하 네가 우라면 울어 웃으라면 웃어 후루라면 달랐어 난 달랐어 네가 뭔데 너만 잘났어 왜 나를 자꾸 놀려 너 이제 그만 hold up 꽉 잡아 날 덮치기 전에 내 맘이 널 놓치기 전에 Say what you want Say what you want 네가 진짜로 원하는 게 뭐야 놓치기 전에 내 맘이 널 놓치기 전에
I think she's really clear about what she wants and what she doesn't. I feel like
want them.
she's clearly communicating. Yeah. And they are devastated. Yes.
Right?
Absolute.
Dude, is there really only one girl in the whole entire freaking
I know. Absolute devastation. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it happens. You can't have everything.
너의 오빠 너를 향한 나의 맘을 왜 몰라 나를 모른 척해도 차가운 척해도 널 밀어내지 못하게 배고파 너의 오빠 너의 남자가 될 거야 두고 봐 나의 마음이 내게 닿도록 지금 달려갈 거야 꽉 잡아 날 덮치기 전에 내 맘 널 놓치기 전에 Say what you want Say what you want 네가 진짜로 원하는 게 뭐야 덮치기 전에 내 맘이 널 놓치기 전에 Say what you want Say what you want 네가 진짜로 원하는 게
I'm still not clear on where she stands. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, are you?
oh, just give it a second. So they're all competing for this girl. Oh wait,
Yeah.
they never tell you. They never tell you, I think.
Yeah, I'm like yeah, everyone's not gonna want you. This is a lesson. We're talking about young love. This is a lesson that everybody has to learn. Everybody doesn't want you. Everybody's not for you. We have to get over it. You have to move on.
I
You can't be so bitter about it.
I refused to let my daughter watch this video for a long time because I was like, I don't approve of this message. Like, oh, are we? Yeah.
No. But
Yeah.
everybody has to learn that, and especially men. And I'll tell you, I say this often. Men aren't always as resilient as you might think when it comes to rejection, especially when we're talking about love and relationships. So it's really a blow to the ego more than anything. But men, just in general across the board, I feel like oftentimes have a difficult time with like someone saying like, no, I'm not, I'm good, thank you. Nice to meet you, but I'm not interested. Yeah. For a lot of men, sometimes it's difficult to accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the earlier songs are like that. And then they got a lot of feedback. Most of it was not good about how you're being like anti-feminist. And so they took that to heart. And so but also I do agree that like, it also captures that feeling.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
Being a boy, so, but I was
it's a real feeling. And I mean, if you're talking about like a boy, obviously a boy is not going to be as mature as a man typically. Right. So like, it's part of that too. When we're talking about love and relationships. It's like, you have to learn those things and you can't always be told. Sometimes you have to go through something or experience something to really get it, So yeah, that's real. Yeah. And the music grows and evolves with them, I'm sure. So, it makes sense.
So he, RM actually checked their lyrics, their future lyrics with like a feminist professor in Korea. Because they clearly learn and grow from their like mistakes and stuff.
Yeah.
So the next song I want you to watch is Fake Love.
Okay.
And the lyrics actually are pretty important.
Okay.
But and you get to see abs. So feel like that's
Time for an
always-
ad break. Yes, we need an ad
Yeah,
break.
time for, this song came out May of 2018. So this song is in the middle of an arc. So they had a trilogy called the Love Yourself arc. So the first one was Love Yourself, Her. And it talks about like the euphoria of falling in love with someone. It's fate that, you know, it's like the first blush of love. And it's like,
Okay.
it's beautiful. So that was the first. But they also kind of talk about, you know, putting on masks and like not being able to show people their real selves.
You are, yeah.
The second album is Love Yourself, Tear, which is probably my favorite album. Well, now that the last album came out, that might not be true anymore. So I have like 3 favorite albums: Dark and Wild, Love Yourself, Tear, and Map of the Soul 7. And so then this was the title track off of that album, and that whole album is talking about like, oh, you don't really actually love me because I gave you a fake version of myself. Like, like if I showed you my real self, you know I'm a monster and you wouldn't love me anymore. And then it's all about that angst, and then like, oh, you break up because you find out that neither of you were your real selves, and your real selves are not compatible. But then the last part of that arc is Love Yourself, Answer, where they say, you know, the answer actually is to love yourself. You can't love other people if you don't love yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to love yourself first, definitely.
So it sounds cheesy, but it's also true, right?
That's of course. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. And I mean, I talk about that a lot when you're, especially when you're dating somebody new and you want to make a good first impression, right? Because everybody talks about making good impressions. So you want to put your best foot forward, but you also want to be sure that you're really being yourself and you're being authentic to who you are, because if you're not being authentic, then the relationship is not going to be authentic over the long term too. So like, how do you kind of like balance that, and how much do you show and how soon do you show it? I mean, those are like really common themes for everybody. Yeah. All
right, so this is Fake Love. And it's actually probably nothing like what you just heard. It's pop, I think. All right. And maybe EDM. All right, here we go. And there's a lot of symbolism in this video that references a bunch of their other videos, and I'm not going to go into it.
널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어. 사랑이 사랑만이 너 완벽하게 내 모든 요점들은 다 숨겨지게 이루어지지 않는 꿈 속에서 피할 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어. I'm so sick of this fake love, fake love, fake love. I'm so sorry but it's fake love. Just for you 세상을 줬네 Just for you 전부 바꿨어 Just for you 나를 너무 Oh you Hey 우리만의 수 너는 없어 내가 왔던 proof 잊어버렸어 나도 내가 누구였는지도 잘 모르겠네 거울에다 뒤걸려봐 너는 대체 누구래 위해서라면 난 슬퍼도 기쁜 척할 수가 있었어 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어 사랑이 사랑만을 너 완벽하게 내보다 이점들은 다 숨겨지게 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 피울 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어 Now you're so bad, now you're so bad 날 위해 예쁜까지 쓸기 전에 Now you're so mad, now you're so mad 널 지원했던 여기들을 해 Now you're so bad, now you're so bad 날 위해 예쁜까지 쓸기 전에 Now you're so mad, now you're so mad 널 지원했던 여기들을 해 I'm so sick of this fake love, fake love, fake love I'm so sorry but it's fake love
think it's so interesting because it's, you know, the vibe that I'm getting is, you know, you sometimes think that you're saving your partner by like maybe not sharing how it is that you feel, or you feel like, you know, you feel like you're sparing them from really dealing with who you really are. But, you know, you really end up doing a disservice to yourself and to the relationship. And the vulnerability piece is so important. And like one of the main things that I tell people is the key to a healthy relationship. Number one for me always is vulnerability. And that's really tough because that requires you to expose, you know, who you really are if you're hoping to have a long-term relationship with somebody. And so kind of like knowing when to be vulnerable and how, like I was saying earlier about like, you know, you're trying to make a good first impression, but at some point, you know, you've got to drop the wall, right? And you got to be willing to be vulnerable. I think one of the lyrics mentioned like losing your way. And that's the thing. If you're not careful, you'll lose yourself in the relationship completely. And then you don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like
That's
that
really
happens.
powerful.
That happens not even just in relationships, but in terms of like romantic relationships, but also in relationships between mother and child. Like your identity. Like I felt like that's what happened to me. And I felt like such a cliche. I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah.
But it is what happened to me.
Yeah, no, you can absolutely lose yourself. And I mean, you know, when you're talking about parent-child relationships, those are even, I can say those can even be more intense because of the kind of connection that you have, right? And so, you know, as a parent, one of the things I always say, especially with the mother-daughter relationship, is oftentimes as parents, sometimes we're modeled or taught to think like, you know, the job is to make a carbon copy of yourself. And so when, you know, maybe your child goes a different direction or you choose to go a different direction, it's like, you know, it's like, am I a traitor? But the reality is, you know, we're raising like independent individuals at the end of the day. We're raising different people. And I think we really need to focus not so much on like creating carbon copies of ourselves, but really just providing our kids with the support that they need to bloom and flourish and do whatever it is that they are uniquely, you know, here to do. Instead of like making carbon copies of ourselves. Because I feel like that happens a lot in those parent-child relationships. Yeah. It's complicated.
No, it totally is. It totally is.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll continue.
Okay. Amazing shots in their videos. God.
Yeah. The power of money.
I know.
사랑이 사랑만으로 완벽하게 내 모든 약점들은 다 숨겨지길 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 피울 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어.
Oh, wow. It's such a vulnerable song. Wow.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wow.
Which,
No, I mean, it's the thing. It's like, vulnerability is, I mean, like, that's the key with relationships, but that's also always the challenge with relationships and feeling like you have to put up a brave face. You know, when sometimes you just, you know, you don't feel like doing it. You're hurt, you're upset, and sometimes it's hard to admit that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that was deep. Virginia. Oh my God. This isn't what I was expecting. Oh my God.
I think you would actually, so they have an alternate universe called the Bangtan universe, where they have, so with all their albums, they come with notes and it's all in Korean, but basically they very early on referenced Map of the Soul a long time ago. But basically it's this alternate timeline story. Each of the each of the members have this, like, they're not in a band. There's time travel involved. You don't actually know what's going on. There's multiple timelines. But they all come from incredibly tragic paths. There's like child abuse. There's there's suicide. There's like complete like PTSD trauma.
Wow.
It's so I've read it once or twice. I've read the webtoons. And actually the video we just saw is part of that universe. So they have all these videos that you can watch self-contained, or you can see them as a complete universe.
Wow.
And I actually can't focus too much on the alternate universe because it's very triggering. For like a lot of the like suicidal and like, it just puts me in a bad place. But it's very good for a lot of fans because it gives a way in for people to discuss these issues, you know, and to talk about trauma and how to like move on from it, and how these versions of themselves are not dealing with it very well.
Right. And it's good too because that helps to erase the stigma about like speaking up about it or like dealing with it, talking to somebody. So you know, I think there's important work that they're doing with that too, which is great. Yeah.
And I think it's very similar in the African American culture, where like in Asian culture, we do not talk about mental health. It's still very stigmatized. You either pray it away or you pretend it doesn't happen. You don't go see like professionals. Like it's just a very taboo subject, and it's very taboo also in South Korea too.
Absolutely.
The fact that like a very popular idol group is discussing mental health is very actually I'm going to show you some more of their stuff.
Yeah, show me. Yeah, whatever you want to show me.
So last song I wanted to share this triptych, I guess, is Epiphany. This is a solo song of Jin. He's the oldest member. And this song is on the Love Yourself Answer. And
wait, is there a Jin and a Jimin, or there's just Jin?
Yes, there's a Jin and a Jimin.
Okay.
Jimin is a thought in the best way possible. Like that's his persona.
That's my friend's favorite. That's why I had to ask.
Oh, Jimin is. That boy can sweat drop like there's no tomorrow. And I'm here for it. And Jin is actually another very interesting character. He is probably the second most mysterious. He's very, very private. And has, again, very clear boundaries. Like when fans say, "Marry me," he's like, "Don't be ridiculous." Whereas like Suga, my favorite, he'll be like, "All right, just bring the paperwork." Like obvious, and someone actually brought him paperwork, and he's like, "Oh, awkward." But yeah, Jin will be like, Jin is like kindly savage. Like he's very like he's teasing and making fun of Army, and he's very sweet. But he always only shows a positive face. He says He chooses to focus only on the good things. He
Okay.
doesn't dwell on bad things. He purposely either pretends they don't exist. I'm sure he deals with it himself also, but both of them do not. Both J-Hope and Jin don't really burden the other members with their problems.
Okay.
They
Okay.
choose to deal with it on their own.
On their own.
And they're both considered the mood makers of the team. So like they help set like the tone for interviews. And so
Interesting.
when I first got into BTS, I was like, oh man, he's so attractive and he's like really pretty. But like in all the like interviews, he'd be like, yeah, I'm worldwide handsome, you know, or he'd be like really arrogant. Like he was identified as the third guy from the left because he came, or the car door guy, because like these pictures of him went viral and like because of how good looking he is. So I was like, who is this like arrogant guy? Until I realized that he's actually very embarrassed. Like his ears turn bright red because he doesn't like people paying attention to him. But he does it because the other members are nervous.
Right.
Yeah, events. So
and it's a way to deflect too. So like if you take things to the extreme, it's also just kind of a way to deflect from, you know, the nerves or the embarrassment. Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll just like be so like extra. He'll be like, "Yeah, I'm worldwide handsome. What's up?" And everyone's like, "Oh my god! Like, why are you doing like?
What are you talking about?"
Right? And so everyone does, and everyone laughs, and then so now people aren't as nervous and like
you break the ice.
Yeah. So and once I realized that, and that's actually just how kind and generous he is, and very because I guess South Korea is very age is very important. So what year you're born is very important. So even though like Jin and Suga are actually only 3 apart, they're considered a year apart because he's born in 1992 and Suga is born in 1993. So they're not considered peers. And the oldest member of a group could potentially cause big problems because he was not the leader. RM's the leader, but he's younger. But Jin has to like so there's authority. So he's sidestepped a lot of his authority that he would have been given and respect that he would have been given, and he purposely downplayed his. I feel like he's a very good example of what it means to be humble, and and I mean servant in a not derogatory way. Like serving the group, the good of the group over himself.
Right, in service of others.
Yeah. So this song is Epiphany. It's on the Answer CD, which is the end of the arc, right? So we had the fake love, and now this is the answer of it. So
okay.
So here we go. And plus, you get to see him wet. man, to be the rain.
사랑하고 싶어 In this world 빛나는 나를 소중한 내 영혼을 이제야 깨달아 So I love me 좀 부족해도 너무 어려운 걸 wanna love
Yeah, that's my favorite. So if you can just imagine a concert where everyone in the audience is singing along, I'm the one I should love in this world.
I love that.
It's very powerful.
And I love that it's kind of like showing, you know, day by day, you're going out into the world, you're coming back, and it's like kind of having to give yourself that talk every day. I love that. That's so beautiful. What's his name again? Tell me his name.
Jin. His name's Jin.
Jin. Okay.
And so,
I like.
All right.
Wow.
Okay. So what did you think of that triptych? I was thinking as I was showing you this, I should have probably shown you a song from their first, a love song from the first of that trilogy of albums. But oh well.
I love that because I really like that a lot of the themes that they're touching on, you know what I mean? Like loving yourself, self-worth, and you know, those themes are so important. And I think especially for communities of color, you know, where we're taking multiple hits kind of from different places, right? It's important to not forget to really love yourself, to check in with yourself, and to have that time. And I love, like I said, I love that it's not only that messaging, but that you're kind of seeing day in and day out, having to tell yourself again and again that you're beautiful, even though you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But just kind of making the daily choice to love yourself anyway is really important. So I really like that.
Oh,
that might be my favorite one. I don't know.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I'm glad I showed it to you. It's actually, I love your interpretation. It's actually part of the Bangtan universe. Jin is the key to everything in that story.
Okay.
Time travels. So it's interesting that you felt that it was him doing it every day, because it is. He's in a time loop. So it's very interesting.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
love that.
Oh, yay. Okay, so please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.